Hello again. Right, okay, today we're going to be doing protein wraps. This version is using cottage cheese. Now, the one thing I'll say about cottage cheese is that I'm using a full fat cottage cheese here. So this one is 6% fat with 2 grams of carbs per 100 grams. Obviously, the range of cottage cheese that's out in the supermarkets will go from the full fat down to the very low fat. So the only difference when it comes to making these wraps with cottage cheese is that the higher the fat content, the thicker the cottage cheese is going to be. So therefore you might need to add a little bit of extra liquid. But you'll be able to do that at the kneading point, at the making the dough point. So initially, it's 300 grams of cottage cheese, and you're going to want to put this into a bullet blender, or if you've got a stick blender, because we're going to just blitz this down with some cold water. Okay. So 100 grams of cold water going in. Now I say, if you, when you come to the kneading point, it feels a little bit dry, you can always add a little bit more water to it. So, quick blitz. Okay. Into your bowl, we're going to use 100 grams of Panda Flour. This is going to make 5. This is 5 spoon, 5 full-size sort of 9-10 inch wraps. So they are clearly slightly a higher carb than the standard wrap, which is just flour and water. But obviously with the addition of the cottage cheese, they're obviously also higher in protein. I always add around about 5 grams of salt to 100 grams of Panda. Oh, I should have shown you. That's what we're making. So these, and they smell and taste amazing, the cottage cheese wraps. They're fantastic. Right, so this should be a nice smooth paste. It doesn't matter if the cottage cheese has got a few small lumps in it. But that looks like it's done the job nicely. So it's quite thick, it's quite rich, that mix. Initially just bring it together. Your spatula is fine to start with. Obviously if you wanted to flavour your wraps, then mix any seasoning, any spices or whatever into the dry flour first. Alright, so that's absorbed that liquid rapidly. So let's get hands in there and see whether it needs adjusting. So again, it's going to be a little different depending on what style of cottage cheese you use. If you're using a lower fat version, you'll probably find that the 100 grams of water is sufficient, whereas this, it's a little bit crumbly still, and even with me compressing it, it's not quite going to come together. So to this, I'm going to add about 25 grams more water. So just use small amounts. Panda's very forgiving. So if you think you've added a fraction too much, Panda will let you off. Right, so that 25 grams of extra water has just, I would say almost, maybe not completely brought it all together. Just going to knead it for another couple of seconds and see whether it's going to hold. Because obviously what we're going to do is let this dough rest for a few minutes and then roll it out. And if it's a bit too dry, when you come to roll it out, it'll break. A little bit too dry still, just a little. So we're going to go 25 more. Again, so we're going to let it rest. So the flour is going to continue to absorb the liquid. So even if it feels just a little bit like it's got too much water, when it's rested, it'll be fine. Right, okay, so that now has come together. So for a full fat cottage cheese, I will put a note in the recipe to remind you of this, but in a full fat one you may need a little bit more water. There you go. That's it, that's perfect, that's come together. Now that's a nice smooth dough. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, but we're going to let that rest for 10 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll roll that out. Okay, see you in 10. Okay, let's roll these out then. So you can see the dough is sort of firmed up a little bit. It's very easy to handle. Let's weigh it out. There's the one that I did earlier. So we're aiming at sort of like a 9 or 10 inch wrap. About 95 to 100 grams worth of dough. So let's just divide a couple of these up, roll them out. Pan frying is by far my preferred method of cooking them. You can oven bake them if you like. You get a slightly different texture. So not quite as aerated. So these are light and fluffy. You can sort of see these little air pockets inside the wrap, very similar to how you would expect a wrap to be. If you bake them, they'll be a little drier when they first come out, but they will soften when they have cooled. So absolutely no problems in baking them. We always used to bake the wraps at the bakery when they were available. It's only at home that I would always pan fry them, just purely on taste, texture. Right, little bit of flour. You got your 100 grams or so of dough. Follow the same pattern as always. Is a couple of rolls and just quickly rotate. Make sure it's not sticking to the board. A little bit of flour to help. It'll quite easily push out to size. Really not using much effort here to roll this out. Let's have a bit more flour on there. One thing I noticed when I was doing these earlier is the cottage cheese wraps, because I've done a couple of different varieties today. The cottage cheese wraps seem to have more springiness to them, so they spring back just a little bit. But gradually, as you push it out further and further, it sort of stays where it's supposed to be, rather than trying to get back in. Right, so if you want a nice, neat, circular wrap, then get yourself a plate or a bowl or a lid or something you can cut around. However, because it's more about taste, texture, and then what you fill the wrap with, I'm very rarely worried that the edges are not perfectly smooth. There you go. But that, although it looks more square, is well over 9 inches, getting closer to 10. Pan has been on, so it won't take long to warm up. It's on medium hot. It needs nothing in the pan. So even though this is quite thin, it's still very, flexible and fairly sturdy. You don't need to worry too much about it tearing. But if it does tear, just bring it back together. You'll be able to re-roll it. It's very forgiving. It's going to need maybe 90 seconds to 2 minutes on that side first. Now these, the smell coming from them, quite special actually. They actually smell sweeter. They smell interesting because there's definitely a sweetness to them, even though we've got the highest fat, lowest carb option of cottage cheese going. Right, so. Okay. Yep. So these only take, say, minute one side, well, 90 seconds to 2 minutes on the first side, and then a minute on the second side. You can sort of see they've puffed up in the middle. So this one I re-rolled because it stuck to my pin, and as I rolled it back, I then basically folded it in half on itself again. So if you do make a mistake, like I've just done there, don't worry, because I just brought that back together again. And it's re-rolling even better second time round. So don't worry if you don't get the shape right. If it's not quite working out, bring it together, start again. Yeah, we're getting there now. That was the issue. I had some little bit of dough stuck on the pin, which was picking up the wrap as we went around it. Done it again. Okay, right, one more last roll that side. In it goes. Okay, so the pan fried version is always my preferred version. They remain this flexible for several days if you're going to store them for use in the next couple of days. Then just pop them in the fridge. We always put ours inside a food bag and in the fridge. That'll make sure that they don't dry out. If you want to keep them any longer, put them in some grease proof, pop them in the freezer, done. And they're ready there for emergency snacks, quick dinners, whatever. Obviously you can refill these, rebake them. There's actually a lot of uses to wraps. You can make things like spring rolls from them, so you can deep fry them. You could make your lasagna sheets from them as well. There you go. That's a better one. Look at that. Look at those. They are absolutely fantastic. The cottage cheese ones especially have a slightly more unique look and taste, but they're fabulous. Okay, I'm going to roll out the rest of these, get them cooked off, get them ready for putting away in the freezer. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.